Hello friends, today we are here to discuss about the new CCNA 200-301 exam code. Cisco has recently announced these changes to its whole certification track, and we had previously made a video about in general changes about all of the CCNA, CCNP and CCIE. In this video we are going to focus more on just particularly the CCNA exam, the consolidated single CCNA that we have now available from Feb 24, 2020. So I have here Suren with me to discuss about CCNA, the new CCNA 200-301. So he'll tell us about what things we can expect from the new CCNA and what are the changes. So Suren.
Thank you. So in the new CCNA exam code, first thing that you will notice that the exam code they have changed this to 200-301, and they have divided the entire content into total 6 modules. First of all, we have the networking fundamentals, then we have the network access, IP connectivity part, IP services, security fundamentals, and the automation and programmability part. So this part is entirely new, which was not the part of the previous content 225. And they might have made a few changes, so let's go through module by module, one by one, what changes they have made in the content.
Sure.
And at the very end we will compare it with the current CCNA. We should not say the old CCNA.
Yeah.
So we'll compare it to the current CCNA exam code 2125, and let's see what changes they have made.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to interrupt you here is I noticed they have changed the exam duration as well.
Yeah,
previously it was just 90 minutes exam.
Previously
now
it was 90 minutes. Now they have this 120-minute exam. Total duration, the time duration they have increased it as well. Since it is, I believe since it is common for all these tracks data center and these,
I think they are going to check more.
Yeah.
They'll have more number of questions
more number
now.
of questions and like that. So,
yeah.
They have not mentioned how many number of questions they asked. They don't
previously it was
50 to 60 questions or something like that. So we might expect a few more questions than the previous one. So let's see what are the content in the sections separately. So if you go for the network fundamental, you will see that first of all, previously it was mostly it used to start with the OSI and TCCAP, if you remember.
Yeah.
Now they have basically started with the they want us to know the roles and responsibilities of the devices in the network, what responsibility, what roles are there of the devices in the network, that we need to understand. Okay. What is the role of the router, what is the role of the layer 2, layer 3 switches, and they have also added the role and responsibility.
They are trying to push this to
security things as well, in this section itself.
Yeah, they are trying to push this thing that the beginner should know what this next generation firewall really is.
Next generation firewall and intrusion prevention system, these devices, you must be aware. I don't think they will have the confusion part of these, but they will have at least you should know what are these devices, where exactly.
I think maybe just introducing what's the difference between a traditional firewall and a next generation firewall.
Access points, Cisco DNA center WLC wireless LAN controller, endpoint servers. You should know at least the roles and responsibilities of all these devices. Moving on, they have traditional 2-tier architecture, collapse core, 3-tier.
From previous as well.
These two are same. They have also introduced us with the spine leaf concept, which is specifically majorly used in the data center environment.
I think this is where they are trying to focus more on the design part, so that the person knows a little bit about the design.
So in the traditional network, we design it in the 2-tier or 3-tier hierarchy. Here they want you to know in a big scale, data centers.
Yeah, because there's no CCNA data center now.
in that. So they want you to know how the data moves in large scale networks. The concept of east, west, and north, south data traffic. Is not there. So we'll study about that in the spine leaf, network topology, how to make the spine leaf topology. WAN, wide network devices
WAN has been reduced very. Serial has gone completely.
They have not. I went through the content. I couldn't find the SDLC, TTP, and these protocols anywhere.
Okay. And they had to be removed, right?
Most probably they will have some introduction part right here. Most probably what devices you use on the WAN.
I think they'll introduce them to the fiber based
most probably, because that is the technology that
maybe
nowadays.
Even the word MPLS is gone.
I couldn't find the MPLS in this particular new content. Moving on, small office, home office, what are the advantages of having the devices on premises and on the cloud, what are the disadvantages of those. We'll discuss about that. The cabling standards like single mode fiber cables, like they have introduced a lot. Like traditionally we used to focus on STP, UTP.
Yeah, those cross cable, straight cable concepts.
Now they are focusing like a lot more on some fiber optical technology.
Those concepts have been there from past, I think, 8 to 9 years, maybe more than that.
Like so single mode fiber, multi mode fiber, these things are basically like here. What are the different connectors that we can use to connect the Ethernet standards and the fiber point connections? Concept of POV, power over Ethernet.
Power over Ethernet, this is new, right? This was not introduced.
No, I don't think like they might have like had a little bit part in the switching part in the introduction one, but I don't think like it has any huge role in the previous like exam.
Okay.
Next, like as usual, like what issues you can face in the normal cables like collision, errors, deflection, these things. Now they just want you to compare the TCP and UDP protocols. I couldn't see the proper definitive like oversight and TCP/IP model and everything. So they just want you to know like what is the TCP and UDP specifically. What I believe from this.
I think the comparison wise, like
why we use TCP, why we use UDP. Most of that like IP will come later. So I don't think like they have mentioned like anything like TCP, IP.
But I think anybody who wants to really train someone, as from a trainer's point of view, obviously you'll have to start with OSI, TCP, IP.
We don't have any.
I think Vandelodom still will start the book with that.
Obviously, he will go through with that.
Yeah.
So once we are done with the comparison part of the TCP, IP and TCP and UDP, we'll go for the as usual the IP4 addition and submitting part. It has to be there. We can't remove it. Describe the need of the private IPv4 addressing, IPv6 addressing. This part is actually as it is as it was in the previous exam. Like they have not touched. I don't think like they have touched this part. It is as exactly it is. We'll see at the end of this discussion like
the 201.25, the current version.
Yeah, the current version.
I was about to say old.
The current one. They also want you to know most probably that they want you to configure and verify the IP parameters on the client devices like Windows, Mac, Macintosh, Linux, and how to configure the IPs on these devices, how to configure the IP parameters on these devices, how to verify the IP parameters on those devices with the help of commands.
Yeah.
So we'll see like that thing in this. They have also introduced us with the wireless concepts.
Because CCNA wireless is not
wireless there, is no longer there. So they want you to know definitely wireless, whatever wireless concepts they have like SSID, RF and these things. So encryption, how encryption happens in the wireless technology. So these things like they have introduced in the in this first chapter, like
the first part fundamentals.
In the fundamentals. Then
and long back, if I remember when I did my CCNA around in 2010. There used to be Wi-Fi.
Yeah, 64802. If I'm not mistaken, this is the exam code that they used to have.
In that time, this
wireless was there.
Yeah, wireless was there. These kind of things were discussed, like the channels of Wi-Fi should not overlap.
That thing they have again,
brought back
to the CCNA routing once again. Okay. Now, after that, they have a lot of virtualization fundamentals like virtual machines. They want you to know how virtualization happens, with the help of virtual machines and these things. So,
and lastly, I think the switching part is
the switching part that
they have kept as it is. This is the basic.
This used to be there, if you remember, like this used to be there in the switching fundamental section.
Yeah, the second section.
But now they have introduced it in the basic
fundamentals, and I think the percentage of fundamentals has also increased. From 15 to 20.
Yeah, they have increased the total percentage to 20. I believe it was 15 earlier. We'll see that. We'll compare that. We'll see that. So moving on to the next section, that is the network access part. So if you go through the content of this network access part, you will see that this part mostly focus on the switching.
Yeah,
they used to
they have kind of renamed it.
Yeah, renamed it to the network access part. Like usually, as usual, we have the VLAN. Since they have already introduced us with the switching fundamental concept in the first section.
Fundamentally,
they have started directly with the VLAN part. So like as usual, the basic concepts of the VLAN, access ports, data VLAN, voice VLAN, default VLANs.
I think this is completely as it is, just like in
trunk ports. If you see, like they don't have ISL.
Yeah, and there's no discussion.
Okay,
it was kind of minimized in the previous version. Now they have kind of completely taken it away.
And you might also see a few things like CDP, Cisco Discovery Protocol, and LLDP protocol. The device discovery protocols are still there. Ether channel concept.
Ether channel was there, but
previously, like they had like static, PAGP, and LSCP.
Yeah.
Now they are focusing specifically.
So kind of like it feels like Cisco is kind of removing this proprietary. Yeah.
We'll see that. Like most probably, I also believe like they are removing most of the proprietary things that they had. Like they had the PAGP as the proprietary one. Most probably like they have removed it because of the standard protocols like LSCP protocols.
They're focusing more. The training is getting more and more focused on the open standard protocols of IETF, IEEE standards.
Yeah. Next, we have the describe the need and basic operation of the rapid PST. Like normal spanning tree protocol, they used to like per VLAN spanning tree protocol. Like they want us to specifically know about
focus more on now
RSTP.
Obviously, the beginner will have to start with STP basics and
STP, PST, and then it has to go for the they have to go for the rapid PST plus RSTP. Generally, we call it. So, like mostly, like they will introduce a lot of part of the RSTP in this particular section now. Previously, they just had the introduction part.
Introduction part, as in there was the port types, the link types, and stuff.
But so now, most probably, like since convergence matters like a lot. So, in most probably, like in production. They will use this rapid PST RSTP protocol as compared to the normal STP protocol. So, like maybe that's why they are focusing more on the RSTP now rather than using the normal STP now. Okay, this is as usual, like root port, root bridge, and other port holes and everything. Now,
I think port first earlier there was configuration as well. Since now it's under just describe.
They just said like describe the benefits of using the port fast on the switches. I don't think like
it's just one command. They should have kept the configuration of that as well.
I don't know. Like they have just asked us to describe what are the benefits of the port fast. Like I don't think like it will matter. Like if we.
I don't think Surendra will stop teaching this in the class.
No, I believe like. It is only
because again, see, if why I'm taking this point is like if you're focusing more on the convergence, faster convergence, okay, rapid PST, and then you're not including this port fast
features. I don't think like the end users they will get to have the
and it's a very commonly used feature, so it should be there. At least we'll keep it there.
At least we will be covering the lecture. So they have also introduced the compare and the Cisco wireless architecture and access points mode, APs. Like to describe the physical infrastructure like connections of the WLAN components, AP, WLC access controls, like describe the AP WLC management access connections, configure the components of the wireless LAN connection for the client entity using the GUI.
Okay, now this is something which was completely not there.
Yeah, this part I don't think like it was not there. I'm pretty sure like this part was not there in the older CCNA 2025. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, I think there will be some part of the GUI management of wireless devices that they'll introduce.
Let's see. Like when we get a content in very detail, we'll see what exactly is it. So once you are done with this particular 2.0 section, we can move to the next section, that is the IP connectivity.
So moving to the third IP connectivity section.
So let's go to the third one, that is the IP connectivity. It covers the 25% of the entire content.
So 1/4 of CCNA. Very critical.
And you can see like it focuses more on the entire routing if you compare it with the.
Yeah. So again, kind of like renaming the routing
into the IP connectivity part.
Yeah.
But you see, there are a lot of changes in this particular section.
Yeah. RIP is resting in peace.
If you see, like they don't see this part. Okay, it's completely understandable. Like. The components of the route, you need to know the routing table, AD value, metric, default route, and everything. Next hop, it's completely okay. How the router decides the best path, like to a destination, that's completely makes sense. I don't think like these parts are that much big to cover.
Yeah.
Other than that, they only want you to know the IPv6 routing
and IPv4 routing of static.
Like they just want you to know how to configure IP4 and IP6 static routes.
Yeah, I think if I consider from my training experience point of view, static routing is something that you can, if you explain all of that in like 1.5 to 2 hours max.
Most not more than
right. That. And the topics earlier to that 3.1, 3.2, maybe max 2 hours.
Yeah, most of.
So I don't get it. Like How is it 25%?
They have. I don't know what they are going to ask, but they have removed RIP version 2. They have removed the EIGRP. They don't even have.
That's again, see, the thing that we are talking earlier.
Like EIGRP, like they have released that the open standard, but still, like
I like to call it EIGRP is a Cisco only protocol. Okay. It's an open standard, but still no vendor. I have not found any. Do you know any vendor which supports EIGRP?
I don't recall any vendor which was basically loaded EIGRP. So, like, they don't want you to know anything about RIP version 2 EIGRP. Can you say like they don't want you to know about distance sector protocol? They don't want you to know.
They want you to focus
more on the link state routing protocol. So they want, and even if you go for the OSPF one, in the OSPF they only have the OSPF version 2, which is OSPF for IPv4 only.
Yeah.
They don't.
So no focus on IPv6.
Yeah. They don't want you to know about the OSPF version 3, which is for IPv6. And that too is limited to the single area. Previously, we used to have the multi-area.
Yeah, there was not talk about LSS, but there was configuration
of the
multi-area. Yeah.
So in this particular section, like we don't even need to go for the multi-area OSPF. I don't think like this part is going to take a lot of time to cover.
Yeah, and this is what I don't understand. Like 25% saying this is 25% of CCNA, and it's going to take. From my training experience, I can tell you, if I have to train someone, 2, 4, maybe 6-7 hours max, and fine,
Maybe we should take the CCNA exam to see what they ask.
Yeah, definitely, maybe.
So like they also first opportunity protocol, which was used to be part of the.
And even now, see, this is again just describe. It's not configure and verify. Earlier, FHRP was there to configure. HSRP was completely in there.
Yeah, the configure and verify part was there. So I don't think like it will be.
Here, I think they just want you to know
the basic things.
What is FHRP? What do you use it for?
In this one, yeah. So this part basically like more focuses on the routing one. The previous part more focuses on the switching one. So if you see like these two, they completely cover the 45% of the entire content. And if you go for the first one, that is itself 20%.
Yeah. So the major
part is basically this one. Like it can go for the 65% of the entire content. So the next part, that is IP services, focuses more on the services that you can run in the network. Like it covers the 10% of the entire content. And as usual, we have the NAT, network address translation, network time protocol, DHCP and DNS within the network.
Okay.
And SNMP. Explain the functions of the SNMP. Explain
not changed. Nothing is changed. Explain the role of DHCP. Like there's no DHCP configuration. No, there's configure and verify.
Later on, they have given the configure and verify the DHCP, but they don't want you to know the configuration part of the DNS server on the routers and everything like that. So describe the role of the SNMP, explain the functions of the SNMP, describe the use of the syslog, okay, including the facilities and the safety levels that we have, like different from 0 to 7 safety levels that we have. Configure and verify the DHCP client and the relay.
DHCP relay. This is earlier there as well.
Yeah. This thing like it is related to the quality.
Yeah, QS is almost there was a chapter or so.
Yeah, last time. Yeah.
Yeah, and them kind of. This is good actually, I find it like, introducing a student earlier to QS makes them more, they have a broader understanding of the network, because a lot of times beginners just take it for granted, like, everything works by magic. Okay. And with this introduction of QS at CCNA level, I think, because when you read QS, when you learn QS, you have to go in depth into, there's a hardware queue, there's a software queue, what happens with the packet. You have to focus on even like, okay, what changes in the header, right? So you go more in depth into these things. So
it's a good idea to introduce a little bit concepts of the
this was in the previous one as well. Yeah.
But like per hop behavior, these things like we generally we don't used to talk about this, but now we have to discuss a little bit about it. Next they have the as usual. Telnet SSH. I don't see Telnet.
You don't see Telnet. So there's just SSH. Actually, Telnet should have been removed.
Yeah. So SSH is more secured as usual. Yeah. So like we must know the configuration and verification part of the SSH as well, and describe the capabilities and functions of the FTP, TFTP
regular
as usual. So
for configuration backup and
the configuration backups like iOS backups and these things.
But again, see, this is just describing the capabilities of this in the network. So
we have to see about the configuration part of that.
We have to see about that, like whether this is kind of important. It's like somebody says, okay, I'm a IT guy and I have never installed OS in a laptop. Right? So similar to that, if you have never done disaster recovery and you say I'm a networking guy,
it doesn't make sense.
Right? So
because in production, like I don't think like you can expect like failure will happen only exactly at that time. Failure can happen at any time. So you have to be prepared like how to install.
And that is fundamentals, like
that is the basics. So let's see, like
I think that's missing because in the next two sections, security fundamentals and these
two,
there is no way that I think the OS management and device management stuff comes.
What I believe, like routing and switching is done. What I believe, like the part of routing and switching is mostly
the core of CCNA.
Yeah, the CCNA routing and switching that we used to have in the last, or like in the current exam that we have as of now. I believe that they have covered the almost entire thing that we used to have in 200, 125.
Yeah, and taken the core of wireless, CCNA wireless,
and they have made in starting 4 parts.
Yeah.
So the next part, that is the security fundamental part, it focuses more on the like what we used to have in the CCNA security most probably. So if you go, like again, it is going to cover the 15%.
Yeah, actually there was an overlap. If you remember, CCNA R&S, you had port security. Then you go to CCNA security,
same thing.
You again have port security.
Same thing, yeah.
And some part of those attacks and mitigating those attacks was in CCNP routing switching.
Yeah, and we have to layer 2 security part is specifically if you go for
layer 2 security. If you talk about the CCNP switch module, current CCNP switch module, and CCNA security, there was a big overlap.
Yeah, in that particular part as well. So they tried to like merge those things. Like in this security fundamental part, we mostly see like define the key security concept like threats, vulnerabilities, exploits.
Yeah, they are kind of trying to introduce the person to the cyber security and information security kind of concept. Basics.
Yeah. And describe the security program elements, user awareness, training, physical access control.
Right. Yeah. So this is kind of like that CCNA cyber ops a little bit, maybe some little drops of CCNA cyber ops.
Very little information from that particular content. Yeah. So, configure device access control using the local password, enable secret, whatever, like the line console, line notify.
Yeah.
So those passwords are still there. Describe the security password policies, elements such as management, complexity, and password alternatives, authentication, biometrics, and these things. Again, this is just
described
parts. Describe the remote access and the site-to-site VPNs.
Okay.
Like they have taken.
So no GRE. Earlier there was GRE, right?
Yeah, GRE is also not there. So like,
and it doesn't make sense. Okay, if you pay attention to the current CCNA, okay, people might find that I'm quite a big critic of the current version. But like, if you know GRE and you don't know IPsec, are you capable enough to configure it on a production network?
No, it won't make any sense. Like,
because
traffic will be still sent in the clear text.
So you had to have IPsec knowledge.
Encryption for that, yeah. So
right.
Like so they now in this content they will most probably introduce you with the IPsec concepts and these things. So like still like I don't see the configuration part. So they mostly want you to focus on the theoretical concept.
Just know that what is the IPsec? The internal packet gets encapsulated into the external packet and with the new header and stuff. Maybe the basics of that.
ACLs as usual, we have it here, like configure and verify the access control list. They have not mentioned the standard extended, but I think like we have to go for the standard and extended both.
I think they will probably expand it a little bit more because they want they have killed CCNA security. They want to accommodate certain things of CCNA security.
They should have at least given the
like I said in the previous video as well, sometimes during this 6 or 8 months actually they'll maybe add and redefine certain things.
So most of like standard extended those ACLs are going to be, or maybe they will add the dynamic and reflexive ACLs or these things, like who knows, like so when the detailed content comes, like we'll see that like what they have added. This part that we are talking about,
this is coming from the CCNP switch.
This part was as it is in the CCNP switch, like
DHCP spoofing,
snooping and dynamic ARP inspection, port security
Port security
is normal thing. So they have, and since it is configured as well, so we will see like how to configure these things in the network as well. So differentiate authentication, authorization, and accounting concepts. AAA.
Yeah, this was kind of introduction.
Yeah, it was also there in the CCNA,
current CCNA 201
so, describe the wireless security protocols, WPA, WPA2, and WPA3.
This is again coming from that
wireless
basics of CCNA wireless.
Configure WLAN using WPA2 PSK using the GUI. Don't go for the CLI condition.
Yeah, okay.
So they don't want you to go know the CLI.
So I think if somebody has to build a home lab for CCNA R&S,
they just need to have the Wi-Fi.
They need to have a WLC and at least I think one AP. Maybe they'll need that. So
yeah, because they have added a few like a little bit of part of the wireless and
configuration. They should be a little bit familiar with the GUI. So
GUI
I think maybe when they test the person on the exam, they might give like I've seen on the voice exam. Okay, no breaching of NDA. Just like sometimes they give you a screenshot of the graphical interface of something and say like, okay, where do you do this, or what do you what do you infer from this screenshot of the graphical interface. So until or unless you are familiar with the GUI,
you won't be able to do that.
Clear the exam, right? So
we'll see that like what they will do. Like, but this part basically it's 15%. It is basically we can say like it is a composition of the CCNA security, a little bit of the wireless security, and the
some small part of CCNP switch as well.
Yeah, CCNP switch as well. So this part basically specifically focuses on the. So let's move on to the last section that we have here, that is the automation and programmability. This part was not there in the 225. They have introduced this. This part is entirely like completely new.
Yeah, this is where they are trying to bring that a little bit part of the scripting and
these things. Yeah,
kind of like helping the DevNet guy. Okay, because so that I've seen sometimes the people who develop applications for network. Okay. Applications into Python or JSON or REST API, okay. Most of the times, when the developer guy comes, okay, and talks to a network engineer, he doesn't know anything. It's like, he's talking in totally some different language. So that's why I think they introduced this in the CCNA, so that, if you want some customization in the, like if you talk about CCNA, Cisco DNA Center, the Cisco DNA Center. This is, if I've gone through some of things of this. If you look at the Cisco DNA Center, this is kind of the Cisco's way. Like, suppose you are a CLI guy, right? You have been working on CLI for almost your whole career. Now, if you are told, come on GUI, you are a little bit
that might be a little bit
reluctant, right? Okay, I don't want to. Okay, so Cisco DNA Center, this is basically giving you opportunity to customize your GUI based on what you want. Okay, so I think if you have to have discussions with the DevNet guy and explain like what you need, so you need little bit of knowledge, little bit of introduction about like representation, state transfer, REST APIs, these HTTP get, put, post, those HTTP verbs. If you don't know it, there might be a conflict, right?
So they want you to know these things so that you can
so that the developer guy building scripts can bridge and you can bridge that gap.
Better understand the things that you want to explain to him. Yeah. So this part like mostly focuses on like how automation is going to impact the network management and
I think this is kind of like selling the person, like automation should be done.
You had to do the automation and you had to know the basic things of the automation. You had to know the controllers that we use for the automation. Like I believe Cisco, they have their like Epic APIs, Epic EM, like the application policy investors. So they have their respective devices, network controllers that they have. They can connect multiple devices with that controller, and by the controller they can basically put the configurations and everything on the other devices. We have the concept of the northbound APIs, southbound APIs, and we have those things. So most probably they will introduce a lot of things regarding that in this particular section. So like this part specifically focuses on the automation and programming, like how we can basically bring the programming into along with the networking so that our management becomes a little bit easy. So this entire, like if you go through the entire content, like most of the content you will see like there are a lot of changes, But most of the content, like you will see, like they have merged a lot of things, like they have merged the concept of the security, wireless,
eliminating those certifications and bringing their
core parts in the current, in the new CCNA certifications, you can say. So as a CCNA guy, like I think like we have to know a little bit of everything now. We have to know like wireless, we have to know the design, we have to know the
that's good for an entry level L1 support job as well. Like you can easily get into an entry level job,
and depending on your interest, what I believe, depending on your interest, you can move on to a track like security. But I believe like this is like kind of the first year of the engineering life, where you have to study like everything, and then you can
most of the subjects, right?
And then you can basically move ahead in the second year with your specific stream. Like if you want to go for the routing and switching specifically, they have the enterprise. If you want to go for the collaboration, they have the collaboration. Go for the security, they have the security rank and this thing. So this will act like most probably like as the base of the future solution set.
Finally, let's come back to the current CCNA just so that
let's see
the person can contrast. Finally, lastly, what's comparing it to?
If you see like in the new CCNA, we have the total 6 modules. Like these are the like percentage wise, these are these things. So if you go like if you take a look at the exam topics of the current CCNA 2025, they have they have 7 modules. Like they have WAN technologies. You won't see the WAN technologies. They have removed a lot of protocols. Like if you go for the routing one, you will see like they had a lot of things.
Right.
Like they had a lot of this is as it is, this is as it is.
I don't see even inter-VLAN routing. I don't know. Like if you check that content of
I see in the basic fundamental, I don't.
They talk about L3 switches, but they don't talk about inter-VLAN routing.
They have, I believe they have excluded that particular part from the content as well, and you don't see it here in the switching part as well. You don't see it here.
Removing router on a stick configuration makes sense because it's very less used. Most of the people, when they want to do inter-VLAN routing, they use a layer 3 switch. But I think there should have been somewhere, and inter-VLAN routing using a SVI.
They have removed it. They have removed this part. They have removed we don't have the IGRP.
SPF v3 for IPv6.
This is not there.
This is not there. This is completely not there. Yeah.
And even though we don't have the
multi-area OSPF,
so we only have a single area OSPF. This part is as it is. This part is as it is. Like these parts is as it is. So most of the fundamental concepts are as it is. Switching, they have changed a lot of things. Like switching, if you go like this is as it is. This is as it is. VLANs as it is. We don't see DTP and VTP.
Yeah, DTP and VTP were
both but the proprietary protocols, they have removed it.
Yeah, so I think we can make this conclusion now, right? That Cisco is making it more on the standard based. Earlier even it was 80% standard, but now I think they are going for the 100% standard things.
They have not included DTP, VTP, IGRP, like
anything ISL, proprietary. Remove it.
I don't see that. They don't even have like this part. We still have to go through this, but they don't want you to talk about the normal STP nowadays.
I think the main lead for Cisco certification, Yusuf Baij, doesn't like proprietary protocols of Cisco. So BPDU got no mention in
they don't have this one as well. See these things like what I was talking about. They don't have the static configurations of the interchannel, and they don't even have the PGP. I couldn't stacking and cache segregation.
Yeah, this was just like
So
easy, busy 10-15 minutes discussion about it.
I couldn't see any of this. Like this bad part, like I couldn't see this, I couldn't see this, I couldn't see this. This one is not there. This one is there. Like VPNs, like site to site and the remote access.
Yeah, and you told me Cisco Press has 2 books still.
Yeah, we can go through they are planning to launch a few books.
By 2019,
by the fall of 2019, and they are still planning to launch 2 books. Like
how? Because the content is very less. I think they will have some.
I don't know. The size of the book must be small now.
Yeah, maybe.
But the point is that they are still planning to launch 2 books, for the base.
As far as Cisco Press website.
As for their website, it is officially reported on that website. So we still have total 2 books. I don't know.
Volume 1, Volume 2.
I don't know.
I think they'll have lesser,
content or something.
Like the number of pages will be less, because if you look at, I've been finding students here at, I-MEDITA, and what they are, when you give an ICND 1 and ICND 2 book, when they take that, they're like, this, how will I read it? they get demotivated. Although the writing of Wendelodam, I really appreciate the way he writes things in the book, but I think they'll try to reduce the size so that people
to do at least
yeah,
the CCNA.
people become a little bit attracted.
So like they have this part is as it is, like NAT, HSRP, they have removed it.
Yeah.
It is there, but it is the describe part, not the configuration part. So most of the content is, you will see, like it is there. It is there, but they have removed
so
a lot of things.
if we say this, that the current CCNA versus the new CCNA, there will be a lot of things minus. Okay. Overall time, I think it will be lesser.
Overall time, it will be reduced to a significant amount. Like I don't think like it will take that much amount of time that we used to give in the.
I think if CCNA takes 3 hours, it doesn't take, but I think it will take 2 hours. Like a 2/3 time will be taken for the training,
for this So if you want, like you can go to the website. You still have the chance to compare the current content of the CCNA with the new content that they are going to launch on the Feb 24, 2020. You still can, if you want, you can compare like what contents they have added, what contents they have removed. But in our opinion, like most probably they have removed the proprietary part. Like they have removed a lot of proprietary parts.
Yeah, that's the conclusions that you can draw
from this.
That's the moral of the story.
From this discussion, like we can conclude like they have basically dropped down a lot of things, like the proprietary things.
Thank you so much, Suren, for helping us out understand it properly.
Thank you. So,
and for further, we'll definitely have, I think, more videos coming.
That's what I'm going to say. Like just like this content, we might do other videos like for the professional
CCNP enterprise,
enterprise and these things also.
And even security and definitely
and
collaboration. I'll promise collaboration.
So like we will go through the content of the CCNP and CCIE routing and switching, which is basically nowadays known as the, not nowadays, but still we
have to wait 8 months to say that.
So nowadays, like they have planned to rename it to the enterprise. So we'll go through like what content we have in the core exam of the professional level, at the the specialist level.
So you can keep following us if you want more updates further regarding all these Cisco certifications. And thank you so much for watching. And thank you, Surendra.